Srimad Bhagavatam. So, before coming to this verse, just giving a background of this chapter. This chapter is named as Answers by citing Lord's version. So, the questions that Parikshit Maharaj asked was being cited by Shukadeva Goswami, and then that's how it is answered. So the question from 1 to 3 in this chapter is the answer to the first question about the jiva having a material body. So it is being told that due to Maya, soul frees connection with the body, suffers from aham mameti conceptions. That's the reason it is entangled. And then 4 to 8 is setting platform for Brahma Lord conversation. So Sukadeva Goswami then explains that. And then from 9 to 18 there is description of Lord Brahma's darshan of Vaikuntha Loka. He had the darshan. And then being pleased by the Lord, Lord asked Brahma to ask for benedictions. So Brahma says that being the super soul, you know everyone's desires and endeavors. So this is from verse number 19 to 25. So Lord asked Brahma. So from 26 to 30, Lord Brahma asked 4 questions. So one of the questions was the Lord's forms, which is please tell me yourself about your material and spiritual forms. So this verse will answer that question. And while it is answering, even last time when we discussed the verse that Lord started talking, I will speak about Jnana, Vijnana, Sarahasya, Tadangam. So the first part is Jnana. Jnana is the most secret knowledge of my form. So that verse was Jnanam Parama Guhyam Me. So Lord is going to say about this particular aspect, Jnana Parama Guhyam, now in this verse. So with that background, we could recite this verse. So let's recite. Aham eva samevagre
Aham
अहम्
evagre
एवासमेवाग्रे
nanyat sat asat param
nanyat sat asat param
नान्यद्यत्सत् असत्परम्
paschadaham yat yadetatcha
पश्चादहं
paschadaham
यद्वेतच्च
yadetatcha
यो वशिष्येत स्वस्म्यहम्.
यो
yo
वशिष्येत
vashishyeta
सोऽस्म्यहम्
somyaham
One more time. Aham eva samevagre
aham
अहम्
eva samevagre
एवासमेवाग्रे
nanyat yat sat asat param
nanyat yat sat
नान्यद्यत्सत्
asat param
असत्परम्
paschadaham yad etatcha
paschadaham
पश्चादहं
yad
यदेतच्च
etatcha
यो वशिष्येत स्वस्म्यहम्.
यो
yo
वशिष्येत
vashishyeta
सोऽस्म्यहम्
somyasaham
One more time. Aham eva samevagre
aham eva
अहमेवासमेवाग्रे
samevagre
nanyad yat sat asat param
nanyat yat sat
नान्यद्यत्सत्
asat param
असत्परम्
paschadaham yad etatcha
paschadaham yat eva
पश्चादहं
cha
यो वशिष्येत स्वस्म्यहम्.
yo
यो
vashishyeta
वशिष्येत
somyaham
सोऽस्म्यहम्
Please do some voluntary recitations.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please.
अहम् एवासमेवाग्रे
Aham
अहम्
aham eva
एवासमेवाग्रे
samevagre
नान्यद्यत्सद् असत्परम्
anya
nanyat yat sat
नान्यद्यत्सद्
asat
असत्परम्
param
पश्चादहं यदेतच्च
paschadaham
पश्चादहं
paschadaham yat
यदेतच्च
यो वसिष्येत सोऽस्म्यहम्
यो
yo
वशिष्येत
वशिष्येत्
vashishyeta
स्वस्म्यहम्
somyaham.
थैंक यू प्रभु
Thank you Mataji. One more recitation.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु
Hare Krishna.
अहम् एवासमेवाग्रे
Aham eva
अहम्
samevagre
एवासमेवाग्रे
नान्यद्यत्सदसत्परम्
nanya yat
नान्यद्यत्सद्
param
Sat asat
असत्परम्
param
पश्चादहं यद् एतच्च
पश्चादहं
paschadaham
यदेतच्च
yadetacha
यो वशिष्येत् स्वस्म्यहम्
वसिष्येत सोऽस्म्यहम्.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So this it would be a very expanded verse. So big purports. We'll try to complete it in this time. So before that, I just wanted to give a brief summary of what the acharyas have given, and then we could read the purport. So, like the meaning of aham evasam evagre is Lord is saying, I alone existed before the creation. How do we understand it? And what does this confirm? This confirms the eternity of Lord's form, abode, associates, and pastimes. Because he was already there before creation, so it confirms that there is a abode before that. Second thing is Nanyad Yatsad Asat Param. That Brahma which is superior to the effect, that is Sat, and the cause, that is Asat, is not different from me. And then the third line is Paschad Aham Yadetacha. Even after the creation, only I exist. After the creation, everything ends, but I only exist. I exist as Bhagavan in Vaikuntha, Paramatma within the universes, and various avatars such as Matsya, Gurma, etc. at certain times. And second thing is, I alone am this universe, or Etat, that Etatcha, right? As a whole and composed of individuals, because the universe is generated from my energy and it is my material form. And the last verse is Yo Avashishyeta, means whatever is left. What is that? Is that I alone remain. I alone remain at destruction. So Asmyaham. So he's saying about, so this is about his form, his material and spiritual forms, this verse. So now explanations of the acharyas. This would be very brief. So Srila Jiva Goswami says this verse gives the jnanam or knowledge to know the Lord's personal form. So the jnanam that Lord told. So this verse gives that, which is far more confidential than the realization of his impersonal feature. So here in Prabhupada, we would see Prabhupada in the commentary talks about the impersonalism and how they see it and how it is different from personal aspect of the Lord. So Prabhupada explains that. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says this verse gives the basis for understanding one's relationship, that is sambandha, with the Lord. This verse stresses on personal feature of the Supreme by stressing the word aham thrice. So 3 times there is aham. Here aham is here, and then where is aham evasam evagre nanyad yat sat satat paschad aham yad etacha. So then aham here 3 times aham. So that's why it is saying aham is only would come if there is a personal form. Impersonal form cannot say this thing. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Bhajan Rahasya, he says, this verse explains the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva because it describes the nature of the Supreme Truth Krishna, who is like transcendental sun, which eternally exists even after the universal destruction. So he is there and he is not there. That's why it's Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Achintya means what we cannot even imagine. Bheda Abheda, that is same and difference. We would see in the purport it comes. And Srila Prabhupada, this verse stresses on Lord's personal feature. So let's read the translation and go to the purport soon. Yeah.
Prabhu, we cannot see the translation.
You cannot see? Is it not showing?
Can you
We are
scroll
just seeing
down?
the synonyms, Prabhu. We are not able to see below that.
Okay, so should I share again? For me, I can see. Okay, I can share it again. Can you see now?
Yes.
Oh, maybe I am.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So here it says it is I, 3 times I. He was existing before the creation, He is existing now, and he would be existing in in future when everything is destructed. So that is the message here. That's the form. Let's read to the go to the purport now.
We should note very carefully that the personality of Godhead is addressing Lord Brahma and specifying with great emphasis himself, pointing out that it is he, the personality of Godhead, who existed before the creation. It is he only who maintains the creation, and it is he only who remains after the annihilation of the creation. Brahma is also a creation of the Supreme Lord. The impersonalist puts forth the theory of oneness in the sense that Brahma, also being the same principle of I, because he is an emanation from the I, the absolute truth, is identical with the Lord, the principle of I, and that there is thus nothing more than the principle of I, as explained in this verse. Accepting the argument of the impersonalist, it is to be admitted that the Lord is the creator I, and that the Brahma is the created I. Therefore, there is a difference between the two I's, namely the predominator I and the predominated I. Therefore, there are still two I's, even accepting the argument of the impersonalist. But we must note carefully that these two I's are accepted in the Vedic literature, Kathopanishad, in the sense of quality. The Kathopanishad says, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. The creator I and the created I are both accepted in the Vedas as qualitatively one because both of them are Nityas and Chetanas. But the singular I is the creator I, and the created I's are of plural number because there are many I's like Brahma and those generated by Brahma. It is the simple truth. The father creates or begets a son, and the son also creates many other sons, and all of them may be one as human beings, but at the same time, from the father, the son and the grandsons are all different. The son cannot take the place of the father, nor can the grandsons. Simultaneously, the father, the son, and the grandson are one and different also. As human beings, they are one, but as relativities, they are different. Therefore, the relativities of the creator and the created, or the predominator and the predominated, have been differentiated in the Vedas by saying that the predominator I is the feeder of the predominated I's, and thus there is a vast difference between the two principles of I.
Thank you, Mataji. We'll
Thank you,
continue.
Prabhu. Yeah.
This is like so many eyes. So anybody have any clue here what Prabhupada is talking about? So I can discuss in the interest of time. Now here it says, because of the impersonal people, what they think that this is the theory of oneness, that everything is one and it merges into one. So just to refute that is this verse is actually being packaged in in such a way. The purport is done is that different aspects of impersonalism is being refuted by the personal argument. So that's how the principle of I. So when it says everything is one, then Lord is one and Brahma is one, but there are two different I's. So one I is the absolute truth, identical, that is the Supreme Lord, and one is another I who is the another means predominant, like it says one is the creator and one is the created. So these two I's are, that's how it's different. And so beautifully Prabhupada says that the father and the son are human beings, but the father is different from the son and the son is different from the grandson. So that's how the difference is. So Kathopanishad here says Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So you see Nityo, one is Nitya out of many Nityanam, and Chetanas out of many. Chetana means who have the consciousness, one conscious out of many conscious things. So what is that one conscious? That is the Supreme Lord. That is one eye, but there are many eyes which are being developed from him. Eko Bahunam. Eko means one, and Bahunam means many of them. Yo Vidadhati Kaman. So that comes because of his desire. So here what it says is, but the singular eye is what? Nityo, Chetana, but Chetana Nam is plural. So the singular eye is the creator eye, and the created eye is plural number. So that's why from one father a son comes and then grandson comes. So one is singular, but grandsons may be so many and sons may be many. That's how we can understand this. So that's why Prabhupada here it says that the predominator and the predominated have been differentiated in the Vedas. So how it is different from impersonalism? They are not one. They are different. And this is one way of looking at it. So let's go to the next part of the purport.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead, Mataji.
So there is a big purport. Everybody would get a chance.
Thank you, Prabhu. In another feature of this verse, no one can deny the personalities of both the Lord and Brahma. Therefore, in the ultimate issue, both the predominator and the predominated are persons. This conclusion refutes the conclusion of the impersonalist that in the ultimate issue, everything is impersonal. This impersonal feature, stressed by the less intelligent impersonalist school, is refuted by pointing out that the predominator I is the absolute truth and that he is a person. The predominated I, Brahma, is also a person, but he is not the absolute. For realization of oneself in spiritual psychology, it may be convenient to assume oneself to be the same principle as the absolute truth, but there is always the difference of the predominated and the predominator, as clearly pointed out here in this verse, which is grossly misused by the impersonalists. Brahma is factually seeing face to face his predominator Lord, who exists in his transcendental eternal form, even after the annihilation of the material creation. The form of the Lord, as seen by Brahma, existed before the creation of Brahma, and the material manifestation with all the ingredients and agents of material creation are also energetic expansions of the Lord. And after the exhibition of the Lord's energy comes to a close, what remains is the same personality of Godhead. Therefore, the form of the Lord exists in all circumstances of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. The Vedic hymns confirm this fact in the statement, Vasudevo va idam agra asin na brahma na cha shankara eko narayana asin na brahma neshan, etc. Before the creation, there was none except Vasudeva. There was neither Brahma nor Shankara. Only Narayan was there and no one else, neither Brahma nor Ishan. Sripad Sankaracharya also confirms in his comments on the Bhagavad Gita that Narayan, or the personality of Godhead, is transcendental to all creation, but that the whole creation is the product of Avyakta. Therefore, the difference between the created and the creator is always there, although both the creator and the created are of the same quality.
Thank you much. Hare Krishna. So now here it is. First we talked about there are two different eyes. They are different, and then the other feature is these two eyes are persons. They are not impersonal. So Prabhupada stresses this fact in this particular in the paragraph, and he says, for realizations one's own self in spiritual psychology, we may understand that we are of the same nature. Lord is of the same nature, and we, as dependents on the Lord, at the creations of the Lord, we are also similar. But there is a difference. So that is simultaneous oneness and difference. That is achintya bheda veda tattva that I discussed, that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was mentioning. So here it says the form of, and it, Lord has a form and Brahma also had a form, who is asking the question. And that otherwise how he could ask the question if they are formless? So it is actually refuting that Lord is without any form. And then later in the purport we'll see how again that form is being established. And even it says that Vedic hymn confirms this fact, that Vasudeva va idam agra. Agra means first, he was there. Asin, he was there. Na Brahma, na cha Shankara, eko Narayana asin, na Brahma neshana, na Ishana. Nobody was there, only Vasudeva was there. So it tells that he was there. And even Shashipad Shankaracharya, who actually gave the Sariraka Bhasya from where impersonalism came, he tells that Narayana, or the personality of Godhead, is transcendental to all the creation. But the whole creation is product of Avyakta. Avyakta means which is not Vyakta, or which is not personal. So Narayana is the personality of Godhead, which is transcendental. So something beyond the nature is transcendental, and it is person, because it will not have the qualities of Avyakta, because it is Vyakta. That's why. So that's why, therefore, the difference between the created and the created is always there. So in the first one, it is told that there are two eyes. In the second paragraph, it told that these two eyes are persons. Let's go to the third paragraph now.
The other feature of the statement is that the supreme truth is Bhagavan, or the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead and his kingdom have already been explained. The kingdom of Godhead is not void as conceived by the impersonalists. The Vaikuntha planets are full of transcendental veritedness, including the four-headed residents of those planets, with great opulence of wealth and prosperity, and there are even airplanes and other amenities required for high-grade personalities. Therefore, the personality of Godhead exists before the creation, and he exists with all the transcendental veritedness in the Vaikuntha Lokas. The Vaikuntha Lokas also accepted in the Bhagavad Gita as being of the Sanatana nature, or not annihilated even after the annihilation of the manifested cosmos. Those transcendental planets are of a different nature altogether, and that nature is not subjected to the rules and regulations of material creation, maintenance, or annihilation. The existence of the personality of Godhead implies the existence of the Vaikuntha Lokas, as the existence of a king implies the existence of a kingdom.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So now here, the next thing is his abode. Right? First is the supreme truth. Supreme truth is what? The Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Now there is a argument that the kingdom of Godhead is void. Means if there is no form of the Lord, so where does he reside? He would reside in some place which is void, which has nothing. So to refute that, it is to, and then other thing is it will not have any variegatedness. Variegated means variety. Like for example, we see in this material world also, we see varieties of different living forms, that we are there, the plants are there, different insects are there. That is the variegatedness which is being talked. But the impersonal theory thinks that there is no variegatedness, there is only oneness, everything is one. It's totally like that. And void, in a void or empty space, what you will have? Only air or vacuum or something, like if you can understand in the material perspective. So here, with great opulence of wealth and prosperity, Prabhupada says that what is the variegatedness? We see there are many Vaikuntha planets there. There are wealth and prosperity. Or even if you don't see, we read about it, that there are even airplanes and the other amenities required for high-grade personalities. So, therefore, the personality of Godhead exists before the creation. That is true. He is there. and he exists with all the transcendental variegatedness in the Vaikuntha lokas. So he is simultaneously existing in our heart and as well as in the spiritual world. So he can also do that. So that variegatedness is there. And the Vaikuntha Loka is also accepted in the Bhagavad Gita as being the Sanatana nature. So Tadhama Paramam Mama, that Sanatana means it is eternal, it's always there, it is never annihilated. All the material creation is annihilated, but spiritual nature or spiritual world is never annihilated. It remains as it is. So that's why it says the existence of the personality of Godhead implies there is an existence of a Vaikuntha Loka. So if you have a personality of Godhead, he should have a place to live. He should have a place to where he resides. And that's how it cannot be void. So here in this paragraph, Lord's Dhama is being described, and that is not void. That is not impersonal. So let's go to the next one. We'll take a little bit more time, like 5-10 minutes more, but try to finish it.
In various places in Srimad Bhagavatam and in other revealed scriptures, the existence of the personality of Godhead is mentioned. For example, in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.8.10, Maharaja Parikshit asks, Sa chapi yatra purusho vishwastitya udbhavapyayaha muktvatma mayam mayeshaha sete sarva guhasayaha. How does the personality of Godhead, the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, who is always freed from the influence of the illusory energy and is the controller of the same, lie in everyone's heart? Similar also is a question is Vidras Tattvanam Bhagavamstesham Katida Pratisankramaha Tatre Mam Ka Upasiran Kausvid Anusaret. Sridhara Swami explains this in his notes. During the inhalation of the creation, who serves the Lord lying on the sesa, etc. This means that the transcendental Lord, with all his name, fame, quality, and paraphernalia, exists externally. The same confirmation is also in the Kasi Khanda of the Skanda Purana in connection with Dhruva Charitra. It is said there, Nachyavantepi yed bhakta mahatyam pralayapadi atochyuto khile loke sayeka sarvago vyayaha. Even the devotees of the personality of Godhead are not annihilated during the period of the entire annihilation of the material world, not to speak of the Lord himself. The Lord is ever existence in all three stages of material change.
Thank you.
The impersonalist adduces no activity in the Supreme, but in this discussion between Brahma and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is said to have activities also, as he has his form and quality. The activities of Brahma and other demigods during the maintenance of the creation are to be understood as the activities of the Lord. The king or the head execute of a state may not be seen in the government offices, for he may be engaged in royal comforts. Yet it should be understood that everything is being done under his direction and everything is at his command. The personality of Godhead is never formless.
In the material world, he may not be visible in his personal form or to the less intelligent class of men, and therefore he may sometimes be called formless, but actually he is always in his eternal form in his Vaikuntha planets as well as in other planets of the universes as different incarnations. The example of the sun is very appropriate in this connection. The sun in the night may not be visible to the eyes of men in the darkness, but the sun is visible wherever it has risen. Thus, that the sun is not visible to the eyes of the inhabitants of a particular part of the earth does not mean that the sun has no form.
Thank you, Mataji. Let's discuss this part and then we'll move forward.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. So, this part here, okay, so this one is, yeah. Here it says, how does the personality of Godhead, the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, who is always freed from the influence of illusory energy, is the controller of the same that like. So, sachapi yatra purusho. Now, you see the word purusho is there. Purusha is the personal form of the Lord. It cannot be given to a impersonal aspect. Hai. And then Vishwa Sthiti Udbhava. Three different things that happen. Vishwasthiti, Udbhava, and Apyayaha. Sthiti means start, and Udbhava again maintenance, and then Apyayaha. Muktatma Mayam Mayesha. And but the Mayesha means who controls this material nature is totally different from those. Sete Sarva Guhashaya, and he is lying in everyone's heart, and Guhashaya means he is the most confidential one. And then here Sridhar Swami says, during the annihilation of the creation, who serves the Lord lying on Sesha is still there. So it's again telling the form of the Lord. So Lord has a form. He has all the things have some existence. It is not a void things that impersonalists say. And another thing here in Skanda Purana is very important. It says, Na chavyante api yad bhakta. If even the devotees of the personality of Godhead are not annihilated during the period of entire annihilation, what to talk of Supreme Lord himself? So it is being talked about the devotees who are Nitya Siddha devotees. They are never being annihilated. They go into the Lord's form and come back because of their spiritual identity. So their body is non-different, that the material body or the gross body is non-different from their spiritual body. So that's why they also exist as Lord exists. So that's why it is said 3 stages of material change is Utpatti and Palan and annihilation. Those Lord is ever existence. And then it says no activity. So if there is no form, there is no activity. But again, here Prabhupada tells that it is not the case. Lord has the ultimate activity. He is the one who controls everything. It gives an example of a king, like even the government offices, you see work is going on and everything, but it is going at the order of someone. So that doesn't mean that if you don't see the king in the government office, doesn't mean that there is no king. There is still a king who is doing that. So that's what it is. And then another example is in the sun. Like we see the sun, we don't see the sun in the night. But it doesn't mean the sun does not exist. Sun is existing in some other part where there is day. Same way, Lord exists in his eternal form. He is told to be formless means that form we cannot see. He has his eternal form. It's through our material way. He has a spiritual form. He doesn't have a material form. You can understand that way. But actually, he is always in his eternal form, as in his Vaikuntha planets as well as other forms in his other Vaikuntha planets like Narasimha, Rama. They have their own planet in the spiritual world. So let's, I think this particular, okay. So let's complete this entire stretch in this one, this reading.
Hare Krishna.
In
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Please go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah, please.
In the Bruhad Aranyaka Upanishad, there is the 1.4.1, there is the Haim Atma Nivedanam Agra Asita Purusha Vidaha. This mantra indicates the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna even before the appearance of the Purusha incarnation. In the Bhagavad Gita 15.18, it is said that Lord Krishna is a Purushottama because he is the supreme Purusha, transcendental even to the Purusha Akshara and the Purusha Kashara. The Akshara Purusha or the Mahavishnu throws his glance over the Prakriti or the material nature, but the Purushottama existed even before that. The Brahad Aranyaka Upanishad therefore confirms the statement of the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna is the supreme person, Purushottama. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please continue another reading this one. So we'll discuss. Anybody else can continue.
In some of the Vedas, it is also said that in the beginning only the impersonal Brahman existed. However, according to this verse, the impersonal Brahman, which is the glowing effulgence of the body of the Supreme Lord, may be called the immediate cause, but the cause of all causes or the remote cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord's impersonal feature is existent in the material world. Because the material senses are material eyes, the Lord cannot be seen or perceived. One has to visualize the senses before one can expect to see or perceive the Supreme Lord. But he is always engaged in his personal capacity, and he is eternally visible to the inhabitants of Vaikuntha Loka, face to face. Therefore, he is materially impersonal, just as the executive head of the state may be impersonal in the government offices, although he is not impersonal in the government house. Similarly, the Lord is not impersonal in his abode, which is always nirasta as stated in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam. Therefore, both the impersonal and personal features of the Lord are acceptable. As mentioned in the revealed scriptures, the personality of Godhead is very empathetically explained in the Bhagavad Gita in connection with the verse Brahmano hi pratis- pratistaham, Bhagavad Gita 14.27. Therefore, in all ways, the confidential part of spiritual knowledge is realization of the personality of Godhead and not his impersonal Brahman feature. One should therefore have his ultimate aim of realization not in the impersonal feature, but in the personal feature of the absolute truth. The example of the sky within the pot and the sky outside the pot may be helpful to the student for his realization of the all-pervading quality of the cosmic consciousness of the absolute truth. But that does not mean that the individual part and parcel of the Lord becomes the supreme by a false claim. It means only that the conditioned soul is a victim of the illusory energy in her last snare. To claim to be one with the cosmic consciousness of the Lord is the last trap set by the illusory energy or the Daivi mind. Even in the impersonal existence of the Lord, as it is in the material creation, one should aspire for personal realization of the Lord. And that is the meaning of पश्चात् अहं यद् एतच् च यो वैस् वैस् वैशिशेष सोऽस्मि
Uh-huh.
अहम्.
Okay.
Brahmaji also accepted the same truth when he was instructing Narada. He said, Prabhu, you read that. Soyam yate
Soyam te
yata
avitastata
tata
Bhagavan
bhagavan
Vishwabhavana.
vishwa bhavana. There is no other cause of all causes than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Therefore, this verse Aham Eva never indicates anything over other than the Supreme Lord. And one should therefore follow the path of the Brahma Sampradaya or the path from the Brahmaji to Narada to Vyasadeva, etc., and make it a point in life to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari or Lord Krishna. This very confidential instruction to the pure devotee of the Lord was also given to Arjuna and to Brahma in the beginning of the creation. The demigods like Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Indra, Chandra, and Varuna are undoubtedly different forms of the Lord for execution of different functions. The different elemental ingredients of material creation, as well as the multifarious energies, also may be of the same personality of Godhead. But the root of all of them is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. One should be attached to the root of everything rather than bewildered by the branches of and leaves. This is the instruction given in this verse. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I
Thank
hope
you.
this particular thing is very much clear that again Srila Prabhupada tells about the personal aspect of Supreme Lord. So I'll not take much time because already we are out of time. Just give a short summary of what Prabhupada is saying. That here it says one should therefore have his ultimate aim of. So even the Lord has the impersonal form, which is his effulgence. Impersonal aspect is within Lord's form only, but that doesn't mean Lord is impersonal. That is one of the aspect of Supreme Lord. That is what is being told. And if someone thinks that one can become one with the Lord, and that is the last thing in the illusory energy or Devi Maya. So which is actually, and then Prabhupada here says, even in the impersonal existence of the Lord, as it is in material, one should aspire for personal realization. So because he has all the forms, so why not aspire for a personal form, because we are also persons. That's how we can realize the Supreme Lord. If we go to the impersonal aspect, we cannot relate with that because we are not impersonal. And here in the last line, he says one should be attached to the root of everything rather than bewildered by the branches. It means that other functionaries are also there, like Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, Indra, Chandra, they are all there and they are doing their duties. But one should know that everything comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and He is the cause of all causes. And that is the main instruction here. So Lord is saying He is the cause of all causes. So to just tell one in one word is that Brahma, He says to Brahma, Lord Brahma, that it is I who was existing before the creation, who is now existing, and who would always be existing. So my existence is always there. I am personal. I am not impersonal, and I also interact with the person. My abode is also personal. Everything is personal. So that is the root of the verse. So this verse is telling about the jnana of the Supreme Lord, that He is personal and He exists all the time. Yeah. So any like 1 or 2 minutes, if there is some kind of discussion we can do. It's a very long purport, and I think I have not done justice in some of the word part, but in the interest of time, that is what the main gist is. So we can just take 1 or 2 minutes and then we'll end it. My hand